When he joined the Marines, nobody asked if he was gay, and Ben didn't say he was at first. But he was forced to come out, and in 2009 that meant being discharged from the military.
Most nights you'll hear Ben Woodward in the library speaking French. The 22-year-old junior tutors others on the language he's perfected since a child. When he graduates in a year, he hopes to become a French teacher. So you'll understand when Ben is teaching and speaking in French, he shines. But the shadow he leaves behind tells a different story.
My pap even cried when he saw us doing it, because it's just like the sense of pride with the whole entire thing is pretty overwhelming. So you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I mean, granted, you're on the bed at 9, 10 o'clock, but the amount of stuff you do in one day is just very tiring.
He joined the Marines after high school with his sister Lacey.
What really helped me out was my sister, because her and I have always been best friends. Like I said, we do everything together, and her and I wrote back and forth to each other all the time.
Both knowing Ben could be discharged if anybody found out he was gay.
The Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy is on hold. A federal judge in San Diego issued an...
But at the time I was just like, I don't really care. I'm not worried about it.
A controversial policy when introduced, and recently even more controversial, getting attention from stars like Lady Gaga.
Is a law that was created in 1993 that prevents gays from serving openly in the military. Since then, 14,000 Americans have been discharged from the armed forces.
One of those being Ben. One night, Ben was instant messaging with his boyfriend at the time. He left the computer, went to the gym, and came back to find a fellow Marine reading through their conversation.
And he had printed it off while I was there for evidence, and he told me, he said, if you don't tell somebody, I will.
Ben did research because he didn't know what to do. So he went to the one person who was forced to stay confidential, the base chaplain.
I was like, listen, I was just like, I don't know what to do. And I told him, I was like, I'm gay. I was like, my friend says he's gonna, well, that's friend's a pretty bad choice of word, but a fellow Marine told me that if I don't tell people that I'm gay, he's going to start telling people, and I really don't know what to do. And he said, and this is one thing I remember verbatim, he said, and I quote, I can convert you to be normal again, were the exact words he told me. And it was awkward silence for like 2 minutes, and I really didn't know what to say to that. He was just like, we have a bunch of programs, we can help you become straight again.
Ben did not go through with the programs he offered.
So who did you tell?
I ended up going back to the chaplain and told him I was like, I'm gay. I was like, there's nothing I can do about it, and I'm admitting to you that I'm gay, and I need to know what I want to do next. And from there, I had to go talk to my colonel, and what I had to do then was I had to admit to him that I was gay. And in the military, it's all, when you talk to a higher ranked special officer, you have to report in. So you walk in, you stand at attention, and I had to say, good evening, Colonel Wade was his name. And I had to say, I'm reporting to you that I am homosexual. And that was it. That's all I had to say, and that's anything else. They'd set you back to week 6 all over.
Then the discharge process began. Ben had to write a written statement confirming that he was gay. Then the Marines investigated his background. They asked his mother, friends, and an ex-partner to prove Ben's homosexuality. He was ultimately honorably discharged.
Our troops come from every corner of this country.
Earlier this year, President Obama addressed in his State of the Union his promise to end Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Christian and Hindu, Jewish and Muslim. And yes, we know that some of them are gay. Starting this year, no American will be forbidden from serving the country they love because of who they love.
And despite the presidential promise, Ben says he wouldn't go back.
All that didn't matter. Like, all that hard work was just like, who cares? You're gay, so all of a sudden everything you've ever done is erased from your record, and you're gay, so that's who you are now. You're the gay Marine that's going to be discharged. And because of all that, because of that label, which is what I consider it as, I don't think I'd ever join, just because I did the best I possibly could while I was in, and it wasn't good enough.
While he was at the base, he was a tutor, had the highest physical fitness score, and set the base record for the 3-mile run. For now, Ben is focused on his classes and plans to study in France next spring.
Last week, Comfort Dixon was sworn in as Shippensburg University's first African-American Student Senate president. Until then, she was a student senator bringing light to matters of diversity. Here, Comfort opens up about what it's like to be a woman of color on campus and what changes she thinks needs to be made to establish a better community. The barrier that affects women of color in the professional realm is often referred to as the concrete ceiling, impenetrable without any advancement opportunities in sight. However, one student proved otherwise. Comfort Dixon is the first black female to serve as the Student Senate president. How does it feel to be the first woman of color president of Student Senate here at Shippensburg?
It's a combination of surreal and honor, but also like a feeling of it's long overdue.
What made you want to get involved in Student Senate?
I work in the MSA, as you already know, the Multicultural Student Affairs Office. And last year, Ms. Dye asked me, about my major, which is political science. And she was like, I really think you can make some moves in Student Senate. I really want you to represent us in Student Senate. So I thought about it. She gave me exactly 3 days to think about it. And I was like, you know what? I have complaints. I need to go somewhere where my complaints can be heard and, see if I can make changes.
Do you think that women and other minority groups are equally represented in Student Senate?
I think women are equally represented. As far as minorities, no. I feel like minorities need to take more of an initiative to be involved in Student Senate.
So what kind of changes need to be made to ensure that all groups are represented equally?
I feel like if we take the initiative to promote, hey, we're here to help you, and people take the initiative to access, oh, what can you do, then it'll be more openness between organizations and Student Senate, and there won't be a random dynamic or an uneven dynamic between the two.
Do you think that the actions of other women and minorities affect how others perceive you?
I guess past presidents who are females or just any other minorities in general could have a negative effect on me. If they're represented negatively, then that kind of casts a shadow on me as, okay, she's a female, she's also a minority. I mean, even though people say they don't judge, they tend to still judge.
Is it hard being a woman of color in Shippensburg?
I feel like it's always going to be hard being a woman because we always want to show that we're independent, but there's always that, male demeanor that you'll have, give or take sometimes, that, want to remind you that you are a female. Yes, I feel as though sometimes I'm reminded that, hey, you are a woman, watch what you do. But, you take that as motivation to succeed.
Do you think that there's like an extra, strike against women of color?
I will always feel like I have to be doubly motivated because, one, I am African American, and two, I am a female.
Comfort says her motivation comes from her supportive family and friends.
My little sister is only 5 years old, so I feel like I have to be that ideal role model for her. So I would like her to see, what a stand-up driven woman is. And my mother, she made sacrifices for me as a child, so I would like to, make her feel like none of that was in vain.
When you got the call, when you found out that you were president, what was your initial reaction?
I screamed in an elevator. I couldn't fathom the fact that the whole campus took initiative to put me in the position. That really made me thankful, and it humbled me that people think that highly of me. So I really appreciated that from the campus.
She believes her new position will strengthen the sense of community on campus.
The newly constructed Student Senate, as far as having athletes, MSA, Greek-like involved, brought more unity amongst the community.
Comfort began her search for law schools and will be attending a Widener Law School prep class this summer. She continues to be actively involved in various MSA organizations and SHIP's track and field team.
His parents named him Mark, but now she prefers to be called Winter. Meet Winter when Hidden Barriers continues. As you can imagine, being an anchor at CNN is a high-profile position. Earlier this year, I went to New York City to interview Soledad O'Brien. She's well known for her work hosting and reporting for Black in America, Gay in America, and Muslims in America. So when Soledad covered this heavy topic of diversity and these different cultures, she received a great deal of feedback, some good and some bad.
I was the sellout kid. I was the white boy with the black skin.
Black in America, reported by Soledad O'Brien, was one of the most watched programs ever on CNN. The documentary scored positive reviews. But with a high-profile position, Soledad also faced hard
No one
criticism.
has ever said to Christiane Amanpour, well, you know what, how Chinese is she? Because I understand she's going to be, interviewing the prime minister, so I think really she should. It never happened.
So what does being black mean?
Because
Is that a
I think
conundrum?
there was a sense that to tell that story well, you had to have a certain knowledge and understanding of the community.
Soledad quoted the website in her new book, The Next Big Story, My Journey Through the Land of Possibilities. The site Fresh Expressed, the pulse of young black America, said, the same station with nary a black woman in any on-air position of substance. There's no black female Rachel Maddow on CNN. There's no chocolate Campbell Brown, not even a ghetto Greta Van facelift. And no, Soledad does not count.
It's an opinion. To me, what really intrigues me is to say, what does that mean? If someone were to say that to my face, I'd say, well, what does that mean, blacker? I mean, literally darker skin, somebody who's more down with the people. I mean, what are you trying to say? That I'm really intrigued by. So I actually always felt it was an interesting jumping off point for a conversation. What does it mean to be black in America? Which, by the way, was the whole point of our documentary. So it only was interesting. I mean, I never really took it. I mean, I didn't go home and cry at night.
But the quote from the website seemed to echo an experience Soledad had with the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
We were talking about the lack of diversity among anchors in general, but especially particularly at CNN. And I didn't know what he was talking about. I said, he said, CNN has no black anchor. I was like, I've interviewed you a million times, not like at CNN, but before I came to this job, I was working on a morning show at the time. I said, I've interviewed you when we were at the Today Show. And he leaned over and grabbed my hand and pushed it like this and said, you don't count.
Soledad said that later on, Jackson thought she was Latino, not black.
What really annoyed me about all of that was really not even Jesse Jackson. It was more my response. It really threw me. And I was pissed off that I was thrown. I was very disheartened that I was sort of knocked off my game. And partly for all the things you said. Here's a person who is the face and voice of Black America, and he was sort of saying, you're not black. But I really realized that it was not really about him. It was about me not getting tossed off my game or letting other people weigh in on what they thought I was. I mean, really, it's not anybody's business.
Project Safe Zone on campus consists of a group of students, faculty, and staff who promote a welcome and physically safe environment for those who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, intersex, or asexual. You'll see symbols like these all throughout campus. These members can help with LGBTQ issues, and a sticker indicates a safe place to talk about sex and gender.
The Women's Center at Shippensburg University is one of those safe zones.